Okay, imagine this. Life-saving medical supplies, right? But instead of a clean digital system, everything's tracked on paper. Warehouses are just packed, totally chaotic. Well, that wasn't some hypothetical. That was the reality in Turkey's public hospitals just a few years ago. Today, we're going to dive into the incredible story of how they're building what you could call a digital nervous system to completely transform their healthcare.
And look, this is way more than just a simple upgrade. We're talking about a complete reimagining of how an entire national healthcare system works. It's a total shift, Moving from all that paper, all that chaos and waste, to a system that's actually built on data, order, and efficiency. The change is, well, it's staggering.
To really get a feel for how urgent this was, just listen to how Professor Dr. Bahar Aydunali from the Turkish Ministry of Health described it. He said, warehouses packed to the brim, everything on paper, tracking almost impossible, in short, total chaos. I mean, that's not just some logistical headache, right? That's a full-blown crisis in the making. Something big had to change.
All right, so let's rewind and start at the beginning, in what you could call the age of paper. And we're not just talking about some messy shelves here. This was a system that was literally bleeding resources. Inefficiency and waste, that was just business as usual.
So the goal became crystal clear. This couldn't be a patch job. You couldn't just fix a broken system like this. No, the plan was to tear the whole thing down and build something completely new from scratch. A system that runs on smart, real-time data with efficiency baked right into its DNA.
And the solution they came up with, well, it was just as bold as the problem was big. They set out to create that digital nervous system for the entire country's public health network. Think about that, a single, intelligent platform connecting every single piece. So, how'd they actually pull this off?
I mean, a project on this scale is just monumental. It's a huge undertaking. So you have to ask, what was the first domino to fall? What was that crucial first step that got this whole digital revolution rolling? Well, the answer came down to one single platform, Sağlık Market, which translates to Health Market. And this wasn't just some off-the-shelf software. Nope. This thing was designed from the ground up to be the new digital heart of the entire procurement system for every public hospital in the country. And get this, the speed of the rollout was absolutely breathtaking. It launched in 2017, and in just 5 years, it went from being a basic purchasing tool to this massive, comprehensive national platform. By 2022, you couldn't imagine the healthcare landscape without it. It was that essential. And the numbers really do speak for themselves. By 2022, almost half, we're talking 46.7% of all medical supplies for public hospitals were being purchased through this one central platform. I mean, to get that kind of adoption in just a handful of years, that's just remarkable.
But here's the thing, a digital system is only as good as its data, right? And one of the biggest hurdles they faced was just creating a common language. To give you an idea of the chaos, just think about a simple surgical glove. You'd think a glove is a glove, right? Well, there were 49 different ways hospitals were defining the exact same thing. If you want to build an intelligent system, you have to get rid of that chaos. You need one single standard definition for every single item, period.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Because once they cracked that standardization problem, it opened the door for something way, way bigger. They unlocked the potential for a new, even more ambitious plan, the KEYY project.
And the ambition of this KEYY project is, honestly, it's breathtaking. The idea is for it to be like a central brain for all hospital resources, and I mean all of them. We're talking medical supplies, sure, but also the hospital buildings themselves, ambulances, all the new high-tech equipment, even how much energy the facility is using. As they say, it's a single system to manage everything from a needle all the way up to the hospital roof.
Okay, but that's the high-level plan, right? The grand vision. What does all this actually look like down on the ground? In the real world, in the busy hallways of a hospital. Let's zoom in and take a look.
So for our case study, we're going to look at Istanbul University Cerrahpaşa. This is one of Turkey's oldest, largest, and most complex medical centers. And the thinking here is pretty simple, right? If the new system can work here, it can probably work anywhere.
And the impact? It's undeniable. Even at a huge, complex place like Cerrahpaşa, a full 40% of their entire purchasing budget now goes through that central Sağlık Market platform. That is a huge deal. It's a really clear sign that this system is deeply and successfully integrated.
But, it's not a perfectly seamless story. There are still challenges. The hospital's director, Dr. Yilmaz Keskin-Demirci, points out that for really specific urgent needs, think critical patient care, the central system sometimes just isn't fast enough or doesn't have the variety they need. And that's why they still have to do some direct purchasing. It's a vital part of the equation.
So what's the end game here? What's the ultimate goal of this massive project? Well, it's not just about making logistics run smoother. It's much, much bigger than that. It's about building the foundation for the next great leap in healthcare, the era of AI.
And the potential here is, well, it's mind-boggling. Think about this for a second. Nearly a third of all new data created in the entire world comes from the healthcare sector. So a system that can actually capture, standardize, and make sense of that huge ocean of information, that's not just an improvement, that's a complete paradigm shift.
So what does that data-fueled future actually look like? Well, we're talking about things like virtual nursing, AI that helps doctors with diagnosis, even robotic surgery. And all of it, every single one of those advances, is powered by the clean, structured data that this new system is built to provide.
So when we step back and look at this whole journey, it's pretty incredible. We've seen a nation literally move from the complete chaos of paper to the power of a fully connected digital nervous system.
And you realize this was never just about fixing the supply chain. At its heart, this whole thing has been about carefully, meticulously building the digital backbone for the future of healthcare.
Which, of course, brings us to the big question. The foundation has been laid, but the AI revolution isn't coming, it's already here. So is this new digital backbone that Turkey has built strong enough to carry the weight of medicine's future? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, the whole world is watching.